History is on the line at 184 pounds. That's right. You've got Carter Starocci going for an unprecedented 5th national title. We may never see this again. Who knows what the future holds for NCAA athletics. But as of right now, we may never see another athlete with the opportunity to win 5 NCAA titles. Carter has that opportunity due to the extra year granted from all wrestlers who wrestled in 2021. So he's trying to do something special and standing in his way to absolute juggernauts of challenges. You got Parker Keckeisen, UNI, Max McAnally from Minnesota. In this video, I'm going to give you my national champion predictions, my All-Americans. I'm going to give you a sleeper to watch out for and some of the more interesting matches that people are not talking about. But the topic of conversation when it comes to 184 begins and ends with Carter Starocci and his quest to win 184. On the one hand, he has not lost a legitimate match since Big Tens of 2021. Long time ago since he lost to Michael Kemmer. He avenged that loss in NCAAs and has not lost since, other than the injury defaults at Big Tens last year. So with that in mind, the task is daunting for anyone who's going to face Carter Starocci. However, there's 2 guys that have given Carter Starocci very strong challenges this year. I'm going to take you back to November when Parker Keckeisen and Carter Starocci squared off. It was a sudden victory overtime win for Carter Starocci. There were no offensive points all through regulation, right? Carter Starocci had a hard time getting his offense going against Parker Keckeisen and then got a single leg late in that match, or I should say in sudden victory. And the finish didn't look like a guarantee. It was on the edge. It didn't seem like Carter would be able to finish, but he did. And Carter did what he always does, wins. And so as you look forward, I mean, Parker Keckeisen, I think this is someone who is a little bit slept on, even though he was an undefeated national champion this year. I think people don't realize how good he's been since 2021. He's never finished lower than 3rd. He's been in weight classes with Aaron Brooks and Trent Hidley and Carter Starocci, and he's only fallen behind some of those guys. He's an incredibly high-level wrestler, very few losses throughout his career. If you think he can't challenge Carter Starocci, you're crazy. He already has, and he's only been looking better since that match. But there's another contender that potentially stands in his way, and these 2 will likely hit in the semifinals. That's Max McAnally of Minnesota. McAnally gave Carter Starocci a great test as well, pushing him to sudden victory. He had a takedown in the first period, beautiful low-level single that was able to take Carter down, but Carter did what he does. He got off the bottom, got down to business, got his own takedown, and was able to get the win in overtime when McAnally took an errant shot. But for Carter, he's only going to have to face one of those guys, right? And so who makes it to the final? Well, I believe it'll be Parker Keckeisen. And I am not counting out Max McAnally. I just think Parker is so seasoned, and when you look at point scoring potential, I think Parker may have just a little bit more. I think he's just a little bit better on his feet, a little more seasoned. He's so experienced. He's been in so many big matches. He's going to find a way to make it to that NCAA final against Carter Starocci. Now, Carter, his path, what does it look like? Some familiar opponents, Jackson Smith Quarter, Dustin Plott. Those 2 have never faced, but it seems like Carter's going to be able to figure that one out and make it to the finals. And I think in this one, I've got Carter Starocci winning. Until I see him lose, I'm not picking it. I'm not predicting it. The guy hasn't lost since 2021. I think he gets the job done here. I think you're crazy if you think Keckeisen can't do it. And I think you're crazy if you think McAnally can't do it. But I think it's going to be Keckeisen who gets the opportunity. And I think for Carter Starocci, the match looks like this. I think he's not going to want it to go as long as he did last time. He's like a computer. He's taken all the data, all the information from Parker Keckeisen in that first match, and I think it's going to result in a first period takedown for Carter, and I think that's going to totally shift the entire trajectory of the match, and Keckeisen's just going to have a hard time running down Carter Starocci. So I've got Carter winning this one. Goes out a 5-timer. Will he win the Hodge? That'll be the next question. We'll get to that at a later time once the dust is settled from NCAAs. Now, let me give you my podium here. I've got first place, Carter Starocci. Second, Parker Keckeisen. Third, Max McAnally. Fourth, Dustin Plott. Then Jackson Smith, Bennett Berge, Gabe Arnold out of the 11, and Silas Allred out of the 12, finishing 7th and 8th. Now, those round of 12 matches, I have Allred beating a very tough Dylan Fishback, who's one of my sleepers for NC State out of the 15 seed. I think it's very realistic that Dylan places. However, I really like how Silas Allred was wrestling at the Big Ten Championships, and just towards the end of the year, seems like he settled into the new weight class after not the best start, is wrestling really well. I think he's going to finish on the podium here. I've got Jackson Smith taking out Chris Foca as the 6th seed. That's an upset by seeding, but not by the regular season result. Jackson Smith won that match earlier this year by a pretty lopsided margin. I have Bennett Berge taking out Edmund Ruth in the round of 12. That's a coin flip match. Edmund Ruth looked really good at Big Tens and in the lead up to that tournament. He certainly could finish on the podium, as could Reese Heller. But I have Reese Heller falling to Gabe Arnold in that round of 12. Now, for you Iowa fans, how do I see Gabe Arnold's tournament going? I have him winning round 1 against DJ Washington and then defeating Chris Foca in that second round match, okay, before falling to McAnally and dropping down right where I said he would. Should he lose early, lose to Chris Foca, he would have Dennis Robin, then I think it would be Parker from Oklahoma, and then he would have Jackson Smith in the round of 12. And we all know that is a close match. Those two have split. Basically nothing separating those two wrestlers. And so I think, for Arnold, if you watch Arnold this year, you know what you're in for. You're in for some tight matches, winnable matches, but it's going to be close. And there's not going to be a lot of separation in some of these bigger matches for Gabe. But that being said, if he loses in the second round, I don't think his path is all that much more tough. So if you see him lose in round 2, all hope is not lost for Iowa and Gabe Arnold at 184 pounds. So this weight, it's going to be incredible. And I think I'm hopeful that the NCAA would end with this match, start with 197, wrap around, and finish with 184 pounds. I think for the history that's on the line with Carter Starocci and really Parker Keckeisen, he's got the opportunity to make history of his own, going out a 2-time NCAA champion. He would go down as undefeated for his last 2 seasons because All-Star Classic matches don't count for your official record. So 2 technically undefeated guys, although our eyes saw what they saw in the All-Star Classic. And for Carter Starocci, he can cement himself on maybe the Mount Rushmore for Penn State wrestling, and maybe put the cap on a record-setting performance by Penn State. I think this team is going to contend for the all-time point scoring record. That's how good this team is. That's how special Carter Starocci is. Can't wait for this one. History on the line. What do you think? Does Carter get it done? Does he bring home his 5th title in Philadelphia? I want to hear from you.